Have you made any progress, Doctor?
I'm afraid so, Captain. The children don't carry the disease. They are the cause.
What do you mean?
Hello, welcome back to Star Trek Sodium. This week we're looking at the Star Trek Next Generation episode from Season 2, Unnatural Selection. Thanks for voting in my very interesting poll if you did about Star Trek Next Generation Series 2. The winning vote was that Star Trek Next Generation Series 2 is a vast improvement over Series 1. We did have a couple of people saying that they think it was worse than the Crucid Series 1. The Enterprise encounters a Starfleet supply ship where everybody has died from rapid aging. They must find the cause before scientists on a research colony suffer the same cruel fate. Now, it was while filming this episode that Patrick Stewart decided that enough was enough. Captain Picard was supposed to be French, so it was high time to inject some French stylings into the episode. He approached Rick Berman before the episode started filming with a list of things which would make both him seem more French to the viewers and would hopefully attract more French viewers to the episode, as some weeks less than 100 people were watching Star Trek in France. His list includes speaking with even more of a French accent than usual, having more scenes where he expresses his love for French foods such as cheese, wine, croissants and onions, and the final item on his list was enough to shock even the foolhardy Rick Berman into silence. Patrick Stewart wanted to have a scene where he comes to the bridge topless, as the French would often do in day-to-day life. It's entirely possible that a French man might walk into the bakery with no top on or go fishing bare-chested like a hunky fish finder. Rick decided to give an inch, and to set his plan in motion, he would supposedly let Picard come to the bridge topless for a scene, but would then, at the end of it, say that it didn't work out, and thanks for the idea, but from now on he would have to put his top back on. What Picard didn't know, though, was that now Rick Berman had some special footage that he could keep in his forbidden basement, where he might keep all kinds of weird things for his own pleasure. Possibly like a tub of women's hair cuttings from the local Latino hairdressers, or a collection of fingerprints of LA hookers that he stole from a police precinct when he was pulled in for driving at 130 miles an hour along the boulevard of broken things.
The answer, I believe, Doctor. The Lantry was not the source of the disease, but it was the trigger.
During the scenes where they needed to get Dr. Pulaski looking significantly older, Rick Berman untactfully told the actress to stop putting on her foundation and makeup so that the audience could see a true age-ravaged woman. At first she was offended, but had to do what she was told for the work, so appeared on stage as she really was, a dry, wrinkly old prune face. This is reportedly the actress's least favourite episode, as it shows her real age on the celluloid silver screen. One alteration to the script that Gene Roddenberry wanted was for there to be a plot twist whereby the people who caught the aging disease would have their belly buttons come loose and get a life of their own, flying around the ship causing trouble. But the writer of the episode, John Mason, put his foot down and said no to Gene, which led to Gene telling him that he lives his life in a ridiculous way.
And belly buttons were wild then. It's a ridiculous way for a writer to lead his life, to have...
As a big fan of the classic English pork pie, Patrick Stewart was often placated by Rick Berman with a pork pie each time there was a dispute in the studio. During the filming of Unnatural Selection, Patrick possibly overheard Rick Berman telling lies about his wife to his assistant as a cheap way to make himself look good. Confronted by Picard for talking dirty about his wife, Berman backtracked and produced a pork pie from the fridge for Picard. As the years went on, Rick Berman would rely more and more on this trick as a way to manipulate the Picard actor to do what he needed. Rick would posthumously comment that Patrick Stewart was strong of will but weak to pork pies. Now, it was during the filming of this episode that Star Trek V was also being filmed in the very same studio at the same time, just meters away. Filming for The Next Generation couldn't be halted, as TV episodes are made to a tight schedule, and William Shatner, who was directing Star Trek V, demanded that his scenes must be filmed at this time and at this place. This led to a few interesting happenings. Dr. Pulaski actress was enticed to the Star Trek V stage to see her old friends, as she had appeared in a couple of the old episodes of the original series alongside Shatner and co. Once there, William Shatner welcomed her and encouraged her to have a catch-up for old time's sake, all while the actors on the Next Generation stage were waiting for her to film her scenes. And when she did go back, she was drunk on the brandy that William Shatner had given her. Another side effect of this dual studio production is that actress Nichelle Nichols would be asked to make a crossover appearance in The Next Generation, but she had to turn it down at the time as she was finally filming her famous sexy desert dance. What's there?
Just look to the sky
Did you notice how Riker looks remarkably different in Series 2 than in Series 1? The change is so startling that many people claimed that it's actually a different actor, claiming that a smooth-faced lad played Riker in Series 1, but for Series 2 they discovered a new hunky lookalike. What actually happened was that in Series 1 he was without a beard, but after a long summer break in the wilds of Montana at his brother's forest lodge, he returned 2 months later with a rugged mountainside beard. At first, Worf actor refused to believe that it was the same man, but once he started talking, Michael Dorn admitted that it must be true that Jonathan Frakes has grown a beard whilst living out in the wilderness. Of note is that whilst living in the wilderness in the summer, Jonathan Frakes' neighbour was a young Fisher Stevens, the actor from hits such as 1981's The Burning and 1986's Short Circuit. As the only other person for miles, Frakes possibly wrote in his memoirs that he and Stevens bonded over a mutual love of hunting and prospecting, although Frakes noted that Fisher Stevens ironically hated fishing. It was this friendship that Fisher Stevens had for Jonathan Frakes that he would use as a stepping stone to heat up the great sci-fi war of 1988. Star Trek's science fiction rival in 1988, Short Circuit 2, might have been short of circuits, but they weren't short on ideas of how to anger their Star Trek rivals over at Paramount. Fisher Stevens would allegedly send his friend Jonathan Frakes packages to be delivered to Studio 9. To start off, the hateful messages in the mail were shrugged off as jokes by Frakes, but when his co-stars saw the awful things that Stevens and his Short Circuit 2 co-stars were saying, they were sickened to the core, and revenge was assured. One note delivered to the Paramount crew from the Short Circuit 2 team suggested that Geordie LaForge should stay blind so that he can't see how stupid Star Trek is. Another note mocked Wesley Crusher's gorgeous rainbow sweater that he wore in Series 1, calling Crusher an unlovable freak. Now, this episode, Unnatural Selection, features genetically enhanced, much like Dr. Bashir, but for some reason this isn't really mentioned in this episode about how genetic manipulation is super awful in the Star Trek world. If only Docky Bash was afforded the forgivefulness that these hapless boffins have. Talking about Dr. Bashir, one of the early ideas for him being caught out for being genetically enhanced was that the inside of his mouth would be seen to be extremely hairy, a common defect for those who enjoy the enhancement of a good brain and a ponytail in the gob. And finally, on to the comment of the week, where Amanda suggests that I can't pronounce Lever Burton right. What the hell is that all about? Thanks for listening to my facts about Star Trek. Please hit the subscribe button if you want to, otherwise don't hit the subscribe button if you don't want to. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas period, and I'll catch you all next time, hopefully for some more wonderful Star Trek facts. All the best. Bye!